incredibly drawn to older women. There's something magnetic about a woman who knows herself, who carries confidence, experience, and a deeper sense of emotional presence. She's been through enough to understand what matters and what doesn't. But while that maturity can be powerfully attractive, it doesn't guarantee smooth sailing. In fact, there are certain habits that some older women fall into, often unintentionally, that leave men feeling unappreciated, unseen, or even emasculated. And the tricky part? Most men won't say a word. They'll internalize the frustration, retreat emotionally, and eventually disconnect, all while the woman is left wondering what went wrong. So today, we're peeling back the curtain. Here are 5 things that many men secretly hate when they're in relationships with older women, and why these behaviors, while often rooted in good intentions, can silently kill intimacy and trust. Number 1, acting like a mentor instead of a partner. One of the most common complaints men quietly carry is the feeling that they're being taught instead of loved. Older women have a wealth of life experience, and in many cases, they've had to learn things the hard way. They've raised kids, built careers, survived heartbreaks, and made countless tough decisions. So when they enter into a relationship, especially with a younger man, there's often a tendency to step into a guiding or mentoring role. It may start subtly, offering advice, correcting little things, suggesting how something should be done, but it adds up. Over time, that dynamic begins to feel less like a relationship and more like a classroom. And for a man, this can be incredibly deflating. He doesn't want a coach or a supervisor. He wants a partner. He wants someone who trusts his judgment, even if he's still figuring things out. Constant correction, unsolicited advice, or that subtle tone of "I know better" chips away at his sense of agency. And when a man starts to feel like he's being managed or molded, he begins to withdraw. What he needs isn't instruction, it's faith. He wants to feel like his thoughts matter, that his path is respected, even if it's different from hers. A healthy relationship invites both people to grow together, not for one to shape the other. Number 2, overcompensating through control. Many older women have had to become fiercely independent. Maybe they've been single for a long time, raised kids on their own, or simply lived lives where they had to take charge because no one else would. That kind of strength is admirable, but it can also morph into something else in a relationship, the need to control. And this control doesn't always come from a place of ego. Sometimes it comes from fear of chaos, fear of disappointment, or fear of being vulnerable again. So they plan everything, manage every detail, and make all the decisions. From how a vacation is organized to how the dishwasher should be loaded, nothing is left to chance. But here's what often gets missed. For a man, being constantly overruled or micromanaged makes him feel invisible. It tells him that his ideas, his ways of doing things, aren't good enough. Even if he doesn't say it, he feels it. And when a man starts feeling like he can't contribute, like he's not trusted to lead or even share the wheel, he begins to disengage. It's not that he wants full control. Most men are more than happy to collaborate and co-lead, but they want their input to count. They want to be trusted to handle things without being double-checked or corrected. And when that trust isn't there, it kills initiative. He stops offering, stops showing up fully. Not because he doesn't care, but because he feels like there's no room for it. The irony is that what many older women crave, support, shared responsibility, a reliable partner, is exactly what they block by holding on to too much control. Number 3, carrying emotional baggage into the present. It's impossible to go through life without scars. Older women often bring with them a rich history, filled with past relationships, heartbreaks, betrayals, or disappointments. And while those experiences have shaped their strength and insight, they can also leave behind emotional residue that seeps into current relationships. Many men silently struggle with feeling like they're being punished for things they didn't do. Maybe the woman is suspicious, guarded, or quick to assume the worst, based not on what he's done, but on what others before him have. A man might say something innocent and she reads into it, reacting with sharpness or pulling away, or he makes a mistake, and suddenly it's treated as confirmation of her worst fears. Over time, this creates a deep emotional wedge. He begins to feel like no matter how well he behaves, he's fighting ghosts he can't compete with. The truth is, men want to feel like they're being seen for who they are, not filtered through the lens of someone else's damage. When an older woman brings unresolved emotional wounds into the relationship without awareness or healing, it creates tension that's both exhausting and disheartening. He doesn't expect perfection, far from it, but he does need emotional presence, a sense that she's really here with him, not living in the shadow of a man who broke her heart 10 years ago. When a woman can be open about her past, but not trapped by it, when she can trust again without letting fear lead, that's when intimacy has room to grow. Men crave a clean emotional slate, not because they want her to forget, but because they want a real chance to write their own story with her. Number 4, using subtle criticism as communication. Men are surprisingly sensitive to tone, especially when it comes from a woman they care deeply about. What they hate more than direct confrontation is the slow drip of subtle criticism that hides beneath everyday conversation. Older women, often more experienced in communication, can unintentionally fall into this pattern. It might sound like sarcasm, like a joke about how he always forgets something, or a sigh when he loads the groceries the wrong way. It may be a passing comment about how someone else's husband does things differently, or a comparison to a past partner who was really good at that kind of thing. These may seem small in the moment, but to a man, they accumulate. They create an atmosphere of inadequacy. He feels like he can never quite measure up, like he's always slightly disappointing her. And unlike direct conflict, which can be cleared through honest conversation, subtle criticism is slippery. It leaves no clean entry point for resolution. He can't say, "That bothered me," without risking being called too sensitive. So instead, he internalizes it. He starts to pull away, stops sharing his ideas, stops showing enthusiasm, not because he doesn't love her, but because he doesn't feel emotionally safe. What he needs is appreciation, encouragement, even space to fail without being belittled. When a woman shifts from critique to curiosity, from sarcasm to sincerity, the emotional tone changes. He starts to feel seen, not measured, valued, not evaluated. And that shift can mean the difference between resentment and real emotional connection. Number 5, forgetting the power of feminine energy. One of the most deeply rooted desires men have, often unspoken and sometimes misunderstood, is the longing to experience a woman's soft, receptive, feminine energy. In today's world, especially for older women who've had to fight hard for their independence, that softer energy often gets buried under layers of productivity, responsibility, and self-protection. And while strength and independence are incredibly attractive qualities, what many men crave deep down is balance. They want a space where they can be strong, protective, and giving, where the woman invites rather than instructs, receives rather than resists. This isn't about being submissive or weak. It's about emotional polarity. When an older woman constantly leads, plans, corrects, and moves from her masculine energy, the dynamic starts to feel like two leaders clashing, rather than lovers connecting. Men don't necessarily want to be in charge of everything, but they do want to feel like their presence makes her feel safe enough to relax, to let go, to receive. And when a woman taps into that gentle, warm energy, when she laughs easily, touches softly, listens deeply, it draws a man in like nothing else. It reminds him why he fell for her in the first place, not just because she's smart, competent, and capable, but because she brings something to his life that no one else can. Emotional sanctuary. That sense of connection that feels both grounding and electric. Many men say they don't need much, but what they often mean is that they need something deeper than most people realize. And when a woman can balance her power with softness, her experience with openness. It's magnetic. Closing reflection. In the end, these 5 things aren't about fault. They're about awareness. Older women often carry incredible strength, wisdom, and presence. But no one is immune to blind spots. The things men secretly hate often aren't grand betrayals or dramatic moments. They're the slow, subtle habits that create emotional distance over time. The good news is, they can be changed. When a woman begins to see how these patterns show up and make small shifts toward trust, softness, and shared space, it transforms the relationship. Men want to show up. They want to love fully. But they also want to feel like there's room for them to do so. When an older woman stops managing the relationship and starts co-creating it, she becomes not only irresistible, but unforgettable.